Good morning, boys and girls. Happy Friday. This is part 2 of the Dinosaurs of Waterhouse Hawkins book we started last week. I read it as a part of our Children's Day / book day. Today we are going to be reading parts 2 and 3, but just as a reminder, part 1, we talked about Waterhouse Hawkins, who is a scientist and an artist, and he helped us find and decide what dinosaurs looked like based off of their bones and fossils that they found in the ground. And we left off with him being a huge success in England and even putting on a museum and making a dinosaur museum in England for the King and Queen of England at that time. Now, today we are going to be reading parts 2 and 3, which is his time in America, and we're going to see how successful he is there. So I want you guys to all get comfy and take a nice seat, and we'll get started. The Dinosaurs of Waterhouse Hawkins. The Second Age, America. Waterhouse set right to work. He spent the next 6 months traveling to American museums to learn about American dinosaurs. Again, he built something no one had ever seen before, the first model of a complete dinosaur skeleton. He presented the Hadrosaurus to the Academy of Natural Sciences in Philadelphia, where it was met with great enthusiasm. Now Waterhouse was ready to build his dinosaurs. He returned to New York City to the workshop built for him in Central Park. He hired an assistant, and the real work began. Small models, life-size clay figures, iron skeletons, dinosaurs. While he and his assistant toiled inside, workmen outside began building the museum. Like the Crystal Palace, the Paleozoic Museum would be an enormous structure of iron and glass with a beautiful arched ceiling. Day after day, workmen dug the foundation, and you can see where the foundation would be, and this is what the museum was supposed to look like. Then disaster struck. William Boss Tweed, a corrupt politician who controlled much of New York City, said the museum was a waste of money. At 6 feet tall and 300 pounds, Boss Tweed was a big man with an even bigger thirst for power. He reorganized the Parks Department and put his own men in charge. Waterhouse watched in dismay as they worked on the museum that was stopped. He began looking for a new home for his dinosaurs, but he was frustrated that a thieving scoundrel could thwart almost 2 years of work. So what all this means is that a bad man, Boss Tweed, who was a corrupt politician, meaning someone who had a lot of control in politics and in the government, but was a bad man, he decided, I don't really want a museum. I think it's not worth the money. And so he reorganized, he reassembled, he remade the Parks Department, the department in charge of building the museum, so that it could never be made. And so Waterhouse is very upset and frustrated because this man decided after 2 years suddenly that it can't be made anymore. In March of 1871, Waterhouse gave a speech at the New York Lyceum of Natural History. He stressed the importance of science and art, and then shared the troubles he had had with the boss. I trust, however, Waterhouse concluded, that in time the good sense of the people will awaken, and that they will realize the vast importance of my work. The audience agreed. One man called the boss greedy. Another said that the boss was an enemy of mankind. The New York Times printed it all. And the New York Times is a newspaper, and a very famous one. So if the New York Times is posting this, you know it's probably very important. Waterhouse carried on with his work, but on May 3rd, his dream was shattered. Vandals broke into his workshop. Wielding sledgehammers, they smashed the dinosaurs. Then they carried the pieces outside and buried them in the park. Waterhouse arrived to find chaos, chunks of rubble, mangled wire, plaster shards, and dust. He simply couldn't believe it. And now people broke into his workshop and destroyed all of his work. Man, Waterhouse must be so upset. Oh, and look at him. He does look upset. Look at his workshop. Oh boy. Waterhouse stumbled outside, only to find mounds of dirt and dinosaur rubble. 2 years of his life utterly ruined. This could only be the work of Boss Tweed. The more Waterhouse thought about it, the angrier he became. He protested to the Parks Department. The situation was outrageous, criminal. Surely something could be done. But Waterhouse was bluntly told not to waste his time with dead animals when there were so many living ones around. Waterhouse staggered away. His dinosaurs were broken, and so was his spirit. It seems that Waterhouse is very upset. But in spite of the boss, Waterhouse would give America her dinosaurs. He left New York to create towering hadrosaur skeletons for the Princeton Library in New Jersey and the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. He stayed on at Princeton, yet again creating something that no one had ever seen before, the first series of paintings showing the development of life on Earth, including his beloved dinosaurs. Waterhouse was now 71 years old. It was time to go home. Third age. Home again. Waterhouse returned to London, and exciting news. 30 iguanodon skeletons had been discovered in a coal mine in Belgium. It now appeared that Waterhouse's beloved iguanodon might have walked upright on its hind feet, like people, and the spike on its nose, like a rhino's horn, might actually be a thumb. Imagine that. Waterhouse settled back into his cottage, Fossil Villa, near the Crystal Palace. And on pleasant afternoons, as he walked to the park and his marvelous creations, he wondered what other surprises would scientists dig up as they searched the world for dinosaurs. Just as he hoped, his models were the start of something wonderful, the world's first encounter with these ancient animals. People still come to the Crystal Palace Park in England to see the dinosaurs of Waterhouse Hawkins. So over 100 years ago, and people still go to see them today. Crazy. And while his American dinosaurs no longer stand somewhere buried in Central Park, pieces of his dinosaurs remain. Now that's the end of this book, but I want to show you. There's this page at the end of the book, and it shows what Waterhouse Hawkins thought the dinosaurs must have looked like versus what that scientists nowadays think that they look like. And I want you to try to see if you think that they're really close. So the iguanodon here, this is what Waterhouse Hawkins thought they might have looked like, and this is what scientists say they look like now. So they're very different. But if you look at other ones, like the pterodactyls, now they look like this, and before they looked like that. That's pretty similar. And the Megalosaurus, they look pretty similar in the face. And the Plesiosaurus also. I really hope you enjoyed this book. It is certainly one of my favorites. The illustrations are beautiful. Thank you for reading with me, and I'll see you all again on Monday. Happy reading!